Hello and welcome back to SENDit.Brainsatwork. I'm Steph.
And I'm Claire. Today we're talking about burnout, but specifically how burnout shows up for neurodivergent people in the workplace. But before we do that, we've had some lovely feedback again.
Yeah, we absolutely love reading your feedback, so thank you to Mac, who was giving us a refreshing and 5 stars. This is so relatable. The podcast has helped me understand a recent incident at work and how I felt after it. It's a really authentic and refreshing view of the neurodivergent world, which actually makes me feel a little bit warm inside to read.
Yeah,
it's really
I love
cute.
that. We love getting reviews and hearing how the podcast is helping. They also help the podcast get out to other people too, as they help with the algorithms. So if you do like the podcast, please like it, share it and leave a review.
Yeah, we are on, I've noticed, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even Audible, although I did have someone tell me they couldn't leave a review on Audible, which is a little bit odd. But yeah, please keep liking, so we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get stuck in and look at burnout. This is something that we've both seen a lot through in different workplaces. We've got our own experiences too. So it often looks really different from what people actually expect.
Yeah, and sometimes people don't even realise it is burnout at first. They just think they've lost motivation and they're not coping very well. And this is something, again, that took me years and a little bit of research or actually listening to other people for me to realise, actually, I'm not just this really lazy person.
Yeah.
I'm going through a real burnout motion.
Exactly. And actually what's happening is much deeper level. So the exhaustion has actually built up over time. Burnout is often described as exhaustion, disengagement and reduced performance. But for neurodivergent people, it's not just about having too much work to do. It's often about constantly trying to adapt to environments that don't naturally fit how their brain works.
So that could be things like masking, managing sensory input, trying to keep up with unclear expectations, or navigating lots of interruptions.
Yeah. And that ongoing effort creates a kind of cumulative load where the system is often working harder than it should have to.
So let's talk about how this shows up across different neurodivergent experiences, because I always thought it was the same.
Yeah.
But as we've learned from this research time and time again, it shows up differently
It really
for everyone.
does. So we're going to start off with the ADHD. We often see a boom and bust pattern with that. So someone may work for a really intense pace. They've got their focus, the hyper-focus going. They take on lots of tasks. They perform at a high level. But that intensity isn't sustainable. And eventually there's a crash.
Yeah, and when that crash happens, it can feel like they can't start anything at all, even things that they really care about. It does just become that body shut down, brain shut down.
Exactly. And this is often misunderstood as laziness when actually it's a complete depletion of energy. And then we've got, for autistic individuals, burnout is often linked to prolonged masking, sensory overload. Someone might spend a long time trying to fit in socially or in a work environment that feels really uncomfortable and overwhelming. So then over time that effort builds up and it can lead to withdrawal, reduced ability to communicate, and the needing for that significant recovery time.
It can be quite intense, really, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's much more than people typically expect from the word burnout.
Yeah. So for people with dyslexia or dyspraxia, burnout can come from sustained effort in tasks that are not naturally easy, like reading large amounts of text, writing quickly, or organising information. And that often comes with that layer of anxiety about getting things wrong or actually being judged over it.
Exactly. So it's a quieter form of burnout that can build up over time. I've experienced burnout myself in the past, and it's something I'm getting much more aware of now. It's made me really conscious about my energy and where I choose to invest it. So for me, burnout felt very physical. Everything felt heavy and difficult. I lost interest in things that used to excite me. I didn't have the energy or enthusiasm to keep going. And that's not just at work, it was about personal life as well. So spending time with my family, friends started to feel like effort rather than enjoyment. And even the simplest of things like getting out of bed felt really hard. So recovering has taken time, it's taken energy, and I've had to make some real changes as well in relation to how I work and how I live. So it's not been a quick fix, it's been about gradually getting back to a place where I feel like I can be myself again.
And how do you feel about yourself again?
Do you know what? That's a really good question. I feel more in control, if that makes sense. Like I said, I'm really in control of my energy. I feel more control about how I work. I make sure that I'm doing things like exercise exercise. So we're recording our podcast, but I am all set up to go to the gym later on, because I know as well, if I'm not in my gym stuff, I am not going to go later. So going to the gym is really important to me. I go wild swimming and things like that in the lakes.
Really good.
Yeah, so all of those things help me, but likewise having autonomy over how I do my work when I do my work. I've said this in so many episodes, working from home has a real impact on me because it gives me that flexibility to be able to be normal on a call, if that makes sense, but then be able to walk away from the screen and walk away from that environment and go and, I suppose, get myself back, if that makes sense. So that might be listening to music. We were having a conversation before, weren't we, on like ADHD music and that I've found on Apple, which I love, and that helps me keep on track. But turns out you hate that that particular song that I was trying to play to you earlier. So I feel like me being able to be myself more, be it how I dress, how I can get away from the world and things like that, has all helped me take a step away from that burnout feeling.
So you've kind of been able to identify it, address it, and not move on from it, but actually you've learnt those triggers, you've learnt when you can see it. And I think that is a huge step. Like you said, it's not a quick fix. No. It's gradually getting back to that place. Yeah. I'm still in a little bit of the both stage. So I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to know what my triggers are. Yeah. I'm still in that, let's take some mushroom gummies for breakfast and hope I get that energy by the end of the day. But yeah, it's just making sure you're not overdoing yourself as well, isn't it? But that's what we're going to look into. And I think that's a really important to helping people recognise how burnout actually feels, because for everybody, it is that little bit different.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it can be really physical, like ongoing tiredness, sleep issues, feeling really emotional, and that for me, I'm a nightmare to live with when I'm there. I'm quite irritable. I can snap and or I can just feel quite flat, if that makes sense, which is why for me it's so important that I have those other things, because that's not a great environment for my kids to be living in as well. And I want to make sure that they can see that what steps I'm taking in order to help them as well. Yeah. Cognitively, people often describe not being able to think clearly or make decisions.
Yeah, and some of these are really relatable to me. So I get the sleep issues, so I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, panicking. I get really irritable and flat. And something that I don't think a lot of us think about is actually where you are on your menstrual cycle as well as a woman. Oh my gosh, because I get really, really low. And I know the more pressure's on me, I know when I'm building up that it's going to be like a pot bubbling, and then you bubble over and you have burnout. So it is identifying where I am on that sense as well. But I also hear a lot of people say that they don't have anything left to give and it is exhausting. And it is. And I think one of my first moments of realising burnout was when I was still teaching, so I was in a school, and this probably was peak COVID. Yeah. And I remember just being so overwhelmed. You're also anxious and scared, aren't you? Because we didn't know what was going on. Yeah. I was frontline staff, so not only did I have my kids, but I had nursery children, so, you know, the EYFS. And you can't be like you are with the older ones with them. You know, they need cuddles and things. And then when they're asking, you know, why you're not holding the hand anymore, why they can't sit on your knee anymore. And I remember just being there every day. I ended up in school, so it wasn't like working from home like some people could. I was also then delivering online to the children who were at home. I then had my own children who were scared, who then had to go to school. Yeah. And I remember recognising it mainly when I got the eye twitch. That was when it was getting to the end of it, and my eye, no matter what I did, every single day would twitch and spasm and twitch and spasm. Yeah. And then on a weekend, I physically just couldn't get out of bed, and I felt like the worst mum because I was exhausted. Yeah. But we did kind of turn it around, because obviously having my 2 boys, it was just the boys at the time, we did do you know what, let's sit in mum's bed and maybe we'll plug a PlayStation in, and we started to play. It was Lego Dimensions. Yeah. So we did a bit of Lego Dimensions, and that was bonding for us. Yeah. Or actually, do you know what, while the weather's a bit naff, let's have a movie night. Yeah. So we would sit, and that's still become a thing that we do now, where we'll all get into my bed, we'll all sit and pick something. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had to upgrade to a massive bed just to fit us all in at this point. But it was quite nice, because then when the weather got a bit warmer, we would do things in the garden. I mean, everyone was painting the fences and building decking. I did not have the energy for that at all. It was still just very minimal what we could fit in. And I remember coming out of that burnout and recognising it and starting to feel better and less overwhelmed with it.
Do you know, it's really funny that you say that, because I'd not really thought about the eye twitch. My first physical sign is my feet start to tingle, like the soles of my feet start to tingle, and there's nothing that I can do to stop it. So to start off with, I thought that there was like something physically wrong with me. So I went to the doctors about it, and it wasn't until I started to recognise the burnout symptoms and stuff like that actually it started to go. So that is always my first sign.
I would never have even considered that, because I get restless leg syndrome.
Do you?
Yeah, so my legs will start to go when I'm starting to get really stressed.
Yeah, it's really strange.
It's the pressure on the body though, isn't it, realistically?
It is. With that, it can feel really overwhelming, can't it? Mm-hmm. What kind of different ideas do you think that we've got for recovery?
Yeah, so we've got to really start with recognising those signs as early as possible. So I now know with my eye twitch, you know with your tingly toes, which I really like. And it's rather than pushing through it, let's reduce this load, let's see what can give, that can feel counterintuitive because people often think I need to try harder, I need to get everything done and then I'll be fine. But actually no, that's when you're going to burn yourself out and not come back.
It's actually rest that we need and reducing that demand, and that's really essential. So adjusting the environment can help, such as creating quieter spaces or reducing interruptions. Yeah,
and thinking about energy rather than time, working in a way that fits how your energy naturally kind of fluctuates. Because I said this, I enjoy working flexibly because I'm not a night owl and I'm not an early bird. It's just when my energy comes, I feel like I'm an endlessly exhausted pigeon at this point. I'm kind of an in the middle bird, but it's figuring out, like you say, it's moving it around, getting that change.
Exactly. And I think with that, it's about showing some self-compassion and being kind to yourself. I think sometimes we can be really, really hard on ourselves. And one of the things that I kind of remind myself is, would I say that to somebody else? And I absolutely wouldn't. I'd talk to them about kindness. So sometimes I have to remind myself, actually, you wouldn't say that to somebody else. So it's not about personal failure. It's a signal that actually something just needs to change.
And I think workplaces have really big roles to play here.
Yeah, so the good news is that a lot of the help that might be possible, it's not huge, it's not dramatic changes, it's things that aren't going to cost a lot of money to do. It's simple things like clear expectations, flexibility in how work is done, reducing unnecessary meetings, that can make a really big difference, but also training managers to understand neurodiversity, and that's a real key to this.
It is, and this neurodiversity training is creeping up. So creating environments that are inclusive by design, not just when someone asks for help, because actually we don't need adjustments, we just make this a normal working life, because anything that is implemented that supports those with neurodiversity will support anybody.
Exactly. So let's have a look at some of these examples and bring them to life. So, and just reassure everyone, we're not about to say rebuild the whole organisation from scratch.
No, absolutely not.
So one of the biggest things is just making expectations clearer.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but I don't think it always happens.
No, exactly. It makes a huge difference. So instead of saying, can you just take this away and sort it, it's being clear about what good looks like, when it's needed, what are the priorities.
Yeah, so people aren't using loads of energy just trying to figure out what they're meant to be doing, because that, for me, that sends my levels right up.
Exactly. Guesswork is exhausting, especially over time.
And then what about flexibility? Because this feels like a really, really big one, and I feel like it's discussed so much at the minute.
Yeah, definitely. And I think people often think of flexibility as just working from home. It's much broader than that. It's about how and when people work best.
Yeah, so not everyone's being forced into that same 9 to 5.
Exactly. For example, someone might focus much better later on in the day, or they might need protected time in the morning without meetings so they can properly get something done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone really does their best thinking, do they, at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday in back-to-back meetings. No. And I know I've said earlier, don't I am that exhausted pigeon. I work what's best for me. We've discussed it, I think, on one of the previous podcasts. you get up at like 6, 7 because you know it's quieter and you know nobody else is on, and it's just that stress-free of your Teams and your Slack not pinging away while you're trying to get something done.
Exactly. And meetings themselves, they can be quite draining, especially when you've got those back-to-back meetings.
Yeah, they really, really can. And when there's a lot of them, or when they don't have a clear purpose, even small changes like shorter meetings, very clear agendas, or asking, does this actually need to be a meeting, can make a big difference. I've started, when I have meetings now, sending out that pre-email the week before. It can just be a blanket one saved in my signatures. This is what I expect. This is what we're going to go over. This is how I want you to prepare. Give me what you want me to prepare.
Yeah, I like that. And I think the other thing to think about is not like inviting everyone. Really look at that list and look at what is it that you want from that person. So it's not a blanket invite, and people understand that and they understand why they're going.
I think as well, when you invite so many people, it's are they showing up, aren't they showing up, who are we expecting at this point?
Yeah, exactly. Interruptions, that's another big one for me. A lot of people are working in environments where they're constantly being interrupted, be it messages, emails, people dropping by.
Yes, absolutely. And every time you switch, there's a cost to that. Like, how many times is it, my kids have walked through the door 1 minute, the postman's there. It has a huge cost on your energy.
Yeah, it really does. It's something as simple as having that agreed focus time. I know in my diary, I try to put that focus time in, I'll label it, and I'll put myself on Do Not Disturb, so people can see that. And they can still get me if it's like something that's really urgent. But actually they can see that. Another thing that I talk about as well to people is there's no harm in putting your out of office on and saying this is what I'm doing, and helping people like physically see what you're doing. So people aren't expected to respond straight away, and you can kind of batch up those questions rather than having that pinging that's constantly there. And
I think as well, when you've got it on and you're showing what you're doing, like I can be in a meeting and people are still ringing me even though I'm in a meeting. Like it's having that Do Not Disturb, at least then it's not showing up all the time. Is it? And it's not adding to that pressure of, well, why is this person ringing me? Is it an emergency? And then your RSD sets in.
Yes, exactly. But I found it because we use Microsoft packages. If you put your out of office on, your out of office message then appears on Teams as well, so people can see that on your Teams messaging.
That's
too.
Really good. So what do you think then about the environment side of things? Because they play an important part as well.
Yeah, they play a really, really big role. So it might be noise, it might be lighting, or how busy a busy space feels. And often it's not that the work is exhausting, it's the environment that you're trying to work in.
That's actually a really good way of putting it.
So adjustments might be things like sitting somewhere quieter, using noise-cancelling headphones, having cameras off in a meeting, small things, but they make a really, really big difference and they all add up.
They do, and do you know what, I agree with those, except for I bought myself some noise-cancelling headphones for this reason. I don't know if mine are defective, but they play more and I focus more on them with my ADHD than I do doing work, because if I move my head, it makes like a whir noise, a different, and it lures me in. I've got to admit, I'll let you test them later. It's odd. Sorry, but back into the zone, and I'm guessing as well, it's also thinking about how information is shared that matters.
Yeah, not everyone processes information in the same way, so giving people written follow-ups, using bullet points instead of long emails. I can't read like a long email. I really struggle with that. Or even voice notes instead of text messages. And I have to admit, I struggle with voice notes. If I'm completely honest, I'd much rather a really short text message, because my attention span is, if it's a really long voice note, I just want to get, and I know I'm like, the irony of it's just taken me loads of words to get that out, but I just can't listen to a really long voice note.
No, and I think if I see a long voice note, I will ignore it.
Yeah, same.
But I also think, again, with your emails, people need to learn how to do paragraphs, and that would definitely help a lot better.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think the little things, maybe it's just, a good bit of grammar. But yeah, that makes it easier to take things in, doesn't it, without using a lot of energy. I say if it's going to be long, paragraphs in an email. If it's going to be short, send me a quick voice note.
I'm there with you. It reduces the effort needed just to access the information in the same place, in the first place. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. It's the amount of effort that you need to go through to understand what's needed in the first place. If it's long and whatever, my brain's not there.
Yeah, I agree. But then what about when everything feels urgent? Because I hear that a lot. Everyone's got the urgency of life.
Yeah, everything feels important and everything feels like it's due now.
And I think this is overwhelming for anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see the calmest people, but you can see when the overwhelm sets in.
Yeah, exactly. So regular check-ins with managers to help prioritise what actually needs to happen first, what can wait. That can take a huge weight off. One of the things that I use a lot myself, and I think you've mentioned it in previous podcasts, the Eisenhower matrix, about urgent and important. For me, sometimes just drawing that out really helps me get that headspace out as well.
I do things very similar to the Eisenhower, but I still like my list.
Yeah,
but
same.
then I will put, say, like a coloured star next to the ones that need to be done first, or cross out, and it's very similar. I don't know, I just like to do it in my own way, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
But I think there's something about making it okay to have these conversations.
Yeah, normalising it. So instead of waiting until someone's really struggling, managers are regularly asking, what helps you do your best work? Is there anything that we could adjust?
Yeah, I think there needs to be a lot of those in your standardisation meetings, your team meetings. I think managers need to be putting that out there, making sure everyone's okay and not just hiding away in the background. Making it a standard conversation is not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Because when people feel safe to speak up earlier, that's when you prevent burnout rather than just reacting to it.
Yeah, and if someone has burnout,
then it's not expecting them to come straight back at full capacity. Things like phased returns, reducing workload, to start with being clear about what's enough.
Easing back in rather than diving straight back in, because that is you're gonna think that rebuild, that recovery, it's gonna be gone within an instant.
Exactly, and you go back to the same conditions as they were before, so often you end up in exactly the same place.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from all of this and the research we've done is these aren't huge, complicated changes. It's making sure you're speaking up, you're saying what's bothering you rather than letting it build. Yeah,
so they're not like, as you say, those big changes. It's small, practical shifts that reduce that daily friction.
And that's what helps prevent burnout in the first place.
Exactly.
So if you think that this resonates with you, you are absolutely not alone.
And if you're in a workplace, there is real opportunity to do things differently and support people more effectively.
Yeah, there is. And reach out to us. If this is a topic you want to discuss, if you're someone in a role where you feel like you're burnt out, if you're a manager and you want to support your team, reach out to us. We are happy to talk. We are happy to kind of coach through, give ideas, even if you just want to whinge.
Yes.
And just get it off your chest, because we do. We always have kind of a session, don't we, where it's... what is it? We listen, we don't judge. Love those sessions.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for listening to us and hearing our crazy stories. And then we will see you again next week. Podcast disclaimer. The views, thoughts and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to the hosts. We are not experts, specialists or professionals, and nothing we discuss should be taken as advice. Our conversations are based around our own experiences, ideas and perspectives. They are intended for general discussion and entertainment only. If you need guidance, support or advice, whether professional, personal, medical, legal, financial or otherwise, please seek help from a qualified professional. By listening to this podcast, you understand and agree that the hosts are not responsible for any actions you choose to take based on what you hear.